So don't be surprised if Nick Nurse is out next year and Ime Udoka is in. The number 2 thing that's going to need to be addressed for the Toronto Raptors is this. I've said it many times in the past. In fact, I've been saying this since 2021, 2 years now, that the Toronto Raptors can't win anything with Pascal Siakam as their number 1 guy. Why? Because Pascal Siakam is not a number 1 guy. Pascal Siakam is a number 2 guy masquerading as a number 1. And what's the difference between a number 1 and a number 2? The difference between a number 1 and a number 2 is a number 1 can bear and shoulder everything that comes with being a franchise player. That means he can bear the pressure of the team depending on him in times that matter. So in like a game that's close, right? And there's 4 minutes left, he takes over. He's assertive, he's aggressive, he's scoring the bulk of their points, or he's facilitating or assisting in the bulk of their points. Think of James Harden in Houston. James Harden, there was at one point where 70% of their points in crunch time came from James Harden. And I don't see that from Pascal Siakam. When was the last time you watched a game in which the Toronto Raptors were close, right, with a really good team and Pascal Siakam just took over and you said, wow, we won that game because of Pascal Siakam? You can't tell me when that happened, when he blew your mind when you said, that's that guy. That's the difference. And you saw that difference when Pascal Siakam played next to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was a number 1 guy. He can burden the pressure that comes with being a franchise player. He takes over games. He's assertive. And there have been multiple games in which you watch a game and you say, that game was won because Kawhi Leonard was on the floor. That's the difference between a number 1 and number 2 guy. Another guy that I think is a number 2 guy masquerading as a number 1 is Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, the way he's marketed, the way some view him, they view him as the guy in Minnesota, the linchpin in Minnesota. But Anthony Edwards is more of a number 1 than Karl Anthony Towns is. Karl Anthony Towns is just a happy-go-lucky guy. He's a passive personality type, right? He doesn't take over. He doesn't assert himself. He doesn't score the bulk of games. He doesn't dominate in small periods of time that are crucial. I see a lot of Karl Anthony Towns in Pascal Siakam. Number 2s masquerading as number 1s. So in order to get over the hump, to get different results next year, right, than we got this year, last year, and the year before that, Masai Ujiri is going to have to make a huge swing. Just like in 2019, he made a huge swing with Kawhi Leonard, and he got out of it a championship. That's the same thing that's going to need to happen here. We've had this little roster for too long. This little roster that's centered around Pascal Siakam being the best guy, the best scorer on a team. We've had it 2021, 2022, 2023, and it doesn't work. It's time to move on. And I think Masai Ujiri is going to need to package him up with someone else, mainly OG Anunoby, because he's coveted around the NBA, in order to get something back, get someone back that can actually be a difference maker, right? Either that, or you go into full rebuild mode and you rebuild around Scottie Barnes. Those are the 2 ways that I see the Toronto Raptors going. Those are the changes that are coming. So yes, those are my thoughts on the Toronto Raptors. Expect a lot of changes, and don't be surprised if your favorite Toronto Raptor gets moved. I think aside from Scottie Barnes, nobody's off limit. Don't be surprised if your favorite Toronto Raptor is moved, because we're at that tipping point with the Toronto Raptors in which we were in 2019, where Demar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry weren't enough, and Masai Ujiri needed to make a big swing, and Demar DeRozan got moved, even though he was the favorite of a lot of people. We're at that tipping point right now with the Toronto Raptors. But yes, guys, those are just my thoughts on the Toronto Raptors and how unsuccessful they've been and what changes are coming. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and until next time, kids.